This is Wandering Universe. In this video, I'll be doing a comparison analysis between our modern day tools and the ancient tools used by the Egyptian slaves. I'll also be questioning how the Egyptian labourers managed to survive 20 years of arduous labour building the pyramids. So, let's go exploring. Yes, the marvel wonders of the world. Beautiful. Next one. This is an illustration of the interior of the Great Pyramid, as you can see here. So, in my last video, I talked briefly about the Giza pyramids, so let's recap. There are 2.3 million stone blocks weighing between 2 to 80 tons each. The structure itself is around 500 feet tall and 750 feet long. So, this just illustrates that, and the next one illustrates it a bit more clearly here. So this is a good indicator of what I've been talking about in a previous video. How can it be possible that we, yes, us humans, built these structures? How can it be so? If we did, surely our brains had the capacity and highly advanced knowledge to implement such incredible ingenuity to build these marvel wonders of the world. I'll now give you an example. This is a Sahur granite architrave. How can we do such a feat like this? How can it be possible that we did this? Let's move on. That means us humans must have learned how to invent things with accuracy and efficiency, such as writing, mathematics, geometry, and engineering over thousands upon thousands of years ago, well after the beginning of the melting of the ice, agricultural age, stone, bronze, and iron ages, and well after the digital age. If we did, I wouldn't be here talking to you. Yes, us humans would be voyaging and exploring a new frontier, space, by now. Unfortunately, we haven't evolved that fast. Something went wrong. I'm going to show you an illustration of the pyramids that were built by slaves in ancient times. This drawing illustrates that. I do have to question the methods, how they built them simply by using these primitive tools, these primitive construction tools, and just sheer manpower. So this illustration here says the slaves built them using rollers, sleds, pulleys, trolleys, ropes, and levers, and quarried blocks of limestone using only bronze tools and hauled them up using wooden cranes and a ramp, ? So this is the current theory. I'm going to give you another illustration. This is how they drag them up. Remember, these limestone blocks are really, really heavy. And I'm not sure if these slaves are qualified to do this task. I don't know. I just question the theory here. So these are the questions that I'm going to be asking. What type of trees did they cut down? Or were there any, such as palm, cedar, pine, myrtle, gum? Were there those type of trees around during those ancient times? What type of wood was used to construct a crane? Was it made out of cedar wood? And where is the blueprint for these pyramids before they were constructed? Okay. So far, I haven't found anything. And here's another illustration that depicts from the previous. As you can see, this is what they theorize. Got to question that. Workers would have to lift and haul more than 900 pounds per day. They must have been as big as Superman, superpowers, men of steel, huge muscle pounder, big arnies, lifting, hauling, and levering these immensely heavy stone blocks. I mean, they would have been super fit men to do the job at its time. I'm not talking about mutant X-Men. I'm talking about, superhero type of X-Men. I'll show you another illustration here. See what I mean? Legend says 40,000 to 100,000 men, labourers, were used to construct these pyramids, 20 years to build it, At the rate they're going and the tools that they used for its time, I find it impossible. Not with those primitive tools. No way. I mean, look at their body shape of these labourers. They're too skinny. Just have a look. Take a closer look. There's hardly much meat on their biceps and chest area. What was their diet at the time? In order to do such an incredibly arduous task, they would have had to be super fit men and eat a highly enriched protein and iron diet, right? To do this type of work. Bodybuilders today, they eat a lot of protein per day and spend up to 2 hours at the gym 5 days per week to look like this. And this. These slaves, if you look at it from an ancient point of view and a modern day point of view, they would have had to consume a lot of protein and iron-rich foods to have the energy and muscle endurance to go to the gym to do this type of work that construction workers of our day are doing at the moment. They hypothesized that it was farmers who left their beloved lands behind to head off to the big city to work long hours to build these things. Were these men that primitive-minded and that postulant to sacrifice their time, energy, and lives for an incentive? I find that theory unlikely to be true. Okay, and this illustrates just that. Look how skinny they are. Sure, they have muscle, but it's not bodybuilding mass muscle to do this sort of work. How can it be possible? What was their diet back then? They would have to eat tons of protein-enriched food to do this sort of work, to have that constant energy each day for that to endure that type of work. Like I said, I just find that theory flawed. But if that were the case, okay, so look at it from this point of view for argument's sake. If that were the case, where were the farms to feed those 40,000 to 100,000 labourers over the course of 20 years? They would have had to farm millions of tons of fruit, vegetables, cattle, sheep, goats, and seafood per month to keep those puppies on the go, right? Why would farmers leave their beloved land to go and give up farming life, leave their families behind in order to be employed to build these structures if they had very little to no construction experience? Was there some sort of agricultural economic recession at the time? Famine, drought, hyperinflation, money supply dwindled? I'm going to show you something interesting. This is a granite block cutting machine, as you can see. It's huge. Granite is heavy and it's very dusty work. A slab weighs, depending on what you're going to use it for, about 13 pounds to 19 pounds per square foot. It's strong, durable, and easy to maintain. You can use it for countertops in your kitchen or bathroom, or as tiling along your kitchen floor. Granite was created, this is an interesting part here, granite was created from cooling magma as far back as 300 million years ago. Granite is very expensive. Take that in consideration if you're going to do any home renovations, and it's prestigious material. So I'll show you another one. As you can see, the reason why they closed this off is because it's very dusty work. Usually they would have some sort of hose attached to the side of the machine that contains a large crate of water, and that water is used that when they're cutting along the granite stone, it absorbs all the dust. And mind you, I've seen it done, and the dust and water goes everywhere. It is absolutely a dirty job for anyone who's brave enough to do it. The next machine I'm going to show you gets more interesting here. This is a limestone cutting machine, so it's a monster of a thing. Limestone is, I think it's called calcite, and it's formed in clear, calm, warm, shallow marine waters. Think about that. It can also form by chemical sedimentary processes, such as the precipitation of calcium carbonate from lake or ocean water. The type of limestone used on those pyramids is called travertine limestone. It is mined and used as an architectural stone during ancient Egypt and Roman times. How interesting. And as you can see in this photograph, once again, cutting limestone is very dirty work. So, modern tools used today, such as drills, saws, grinders, milling machines, welding, was possibly used back then, but far more highly advanced means. So what I'm saying, just purely it's just a hypothesis, doesn't mean it's actually true, and it doesn't mean it actually happened. I just want you to imagine that it could have been used. That back then, we're talking about 15,000, 20,000, 35,000 years ago, that these tools were used back then to build the pyramids, to construct them precisely. Show you another example. This is a Bosch tile cutter tool. It's a diamond blade, as you can see here, and it's very messy work. I've used it once myself to do a home renovation, to cut tiles along the kitchen floor. It's very messy, including the bathroom. Very messy and very loud work, so you have to have earplugs in order to use this machine. Now I'll show you something else. Now this is going to get far more interesting, so let this juice up your mind for a moment, your imagination here. This is a sheet metal cutting machine. So that's the laser point, and this is the job that it's doing on this sheet. Now, gets even warmer. Okay. This is a laser wood cutting machine. Once again, laser tip. That's what it's doing on the surface of this wood, creating a pattern. Doesn't go very deep, but deep enough in order to exemplify this pattern on the surface of the wood. The next one, and you're going to like this one, and this may be a little bit of food for thought for you to do a little bit of research, but I want you to think about this carefully, okay? It really is a kicker, this one. This is an infrared stone cutting laser machine. Okay. Now, I want you to imagine this, and this were all used back then to do this. This photo was taken in Tamar region. It is an Al Nasir rock formation in Saudi Arabia. The age of this piece is, they calculated, around 4,000 years old, question mark. Now, if you have a look at the cut, it's a laser stone cut technology that were used back then, question mark, okay? Yes, remember the images I showed you about stone cutting laser machine? Imagine, we're talking about many thousands of years ago, they used that same technology we're using today to do this. Look how precise that cut is. It's so clean. You don't see any ridges, not even a millimeter of a ridge against the surface. It is smooth as a baby's bottom. That is pretty incredible stuff. Okay, so now compare the tools used back then by the ancient Egyptian slaves to try and do this. Okay. Another one. And wouldn't you believe it? You really have to kick yourself in the head over this. To do this. Seriously? It's impossible at the time we built those pyramids with that type of old technology. Okay, think about that for a moment. It's not doable in a 20-year time schedule. Bronze tools break, chip, crack, dent very easily through overuse. And the poor old smithy would have been working up a sweat to try and keep up with high demand of remodeling, reshaping and recreating these tools over and over again. Boy, his business would have been booming back then. Now, to illustrate this is a stone-carved ancient Greek blacksmiths back then. Now, remember, in Greece, they're the ones, apparently, discovered iron, okay? And this is a depiction of ancient Rome blacksmiths back then. They were the ones that also not discovered iron. I don't think they invented iron. I think they found iron somewhere else, somewhere around the Siberian ranges, around about there. Where were the blacksmiths of Egypt? The metalworkers, the boiler makers, the foremen, the supervisors on site, etc. Where were they? Is there anything on the wall that depicts that? In ancient Egypt, blacksmiths did not smelt iron until around between, get this, 600 to 500 BC. How can you build these pyramids in an arid climate without trees, water, crops with sufficient quality soil and metal? Was it all imported? And if so, from where? I just find this theory that us humans did it in an arid climate desert to build these pyramids impossible. And I'll illustrate this. Imagine these pyramids were built using these modern day tools and machinery back then. That these machines I've shown you were used, but in a far, far highly advanced methods back then. So whatever machines and tools we use for construction of buildings, art sculptures, public infrastructure and the like today may have been used back then, but that's just hypothetical. It may be plausible, all right? So that was then. I'm going to show you now that could have been used back then, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years ago. Keep this in mind. This is how we construct buildings of today, using modern methods, modern technology that could have been used back then. Also to do this. Also, would have used one of these big babies, right? And to do cement filling to create reinforced concrete blocks. And we would have used this way back then with the help of this. To do this. Think about that. The pyramids were already there. This is what I believe. I'll say this again, for argument's sake. The pyramids were already there way before the nomads began to conquer and divide the country for themselves to exploit, right? But most certainly these marble feats of ingenuity was most certainly not done by us. It was done by someone else. What were they built for? Were they simply observatories to study the constellation, or was it for something else? I'll give you an illustration to highlight my point. This is the center, true north of the North Pole, and have a look at these beautiful structures. around the circumference of the equator of this planet we're living on, we're standing on right now. And this is the true center. And all of them are pointing and facing towards this point. I'll show you another one. Now, this is a real juicy bit. This is so juicy, it's going to surprise you. Okay. This Great Pyramid is pointing to the star in the night sky called Sirius. This chamber, this tunnel or passageway or air vent, I like to call it, is pointing towards the Orion belt in the sky. And these two other vents are pointing to two other stars, the Alpha and the Beta here in the night sky as well. This is south, this is north. How can it be possible? Now, I'm going to ask myself these questions, okay? Because I'm just not buying it. But all these conventional theories that they've drummed up over the years for us to believe in. We may have been led down the wrong path. But let me ask these questions. How do they plan, design and map out the construction of these pyramids according to the stars in the night sky? How do they correlate the position of each pyramid to point to a particular star? How do they know about the Milky Way? How do they know about the belt of Orion whilst each pyramid is facing true north? Here's food for thought. And as you can see, this is a true photo and it's not being photoshopped. I'll leave that with you to ponder. It's time to put aside these humdrum, monotonous, conventional, primed and prepared theories that many mainstream historians, archaeologists and academics have led you to believe. Put it simply, they're barking up the wrong tree, or that whoever built them used technology similar and far, far more advanced than ours, such as remote control robots, drones, mobile laser devices, iPads, stone cutting lasers, etc., to quarry, cut, lift, hoist, lever, and fit with precision without using building cranes, ladders, and forklifts. Whoever they were are the ones that carried the unique blueprint to design and create these magnificent wonders of the world. A few unconventional archaeologists, historians, and academics today do understand the mechanisms of property development and building construction on a grand scale. Back then, it was very serious business, so whoever they were knew exactly what they were doing because they have done this type of construction 1,000 times before. That's all for now.